Hello students. In this question, it is given that this conveyor belt is moving with velocity u as well as this support A and this block of mass small m. All of these are moving with uniform velocity towards the right. So they are moving with same speed u, and there is a friction between this block and this conveyor belt. But initially, since there is no relative motion, there is not going to be any friction between these bodies, right? But it is given that suddenly this support A is stopped, right? So as soon as this A is stopped, of course the block will have the tendency to move rightwards, but as the block is moving towards the right, this spring will start to elongate. So as the elongation in the spring increases, of course it will start with some very small elongation. So as soon as this spring gets elongated, there is going to be a pull force because of this spring, right? So as let's say the elongation is very small, let's say this is elongation is x at any given moment, the spring will pull this block towards the left with the same small force kx, right? But for some instant, what will be happening here, that since the friction between these two bodies will try to maintain no relative motion, the friction force will act towards the right. And since the kx value is very less, if the friction required is less, then we will get the same amount of friction that will be equal to kx that will be acting on this block towards the right, so that the net force on this block remains zero. So as long as the net force on this block remains zero, this block will continue to move with the same velocity, right? But there is a limit up to which this block can go with the same velocity, because as the elongation will keep on increasing, the spring force will also keep on increasing. So kx value will keep on increasing until it becomes just equal to the maximum value of the friction force possible. And what is that maximum value of friction force? Of course, this is limiting friction, right? So at, let's say, elongation x1 from this position, at elongation x1, this this pull force from the spring is just equal to the this force here, this limiting friction force. Just after that time, the relative motion will begin to happen, and as soon as the relative motion begin to happen, the friction between the blocks will not be static friction, but it will become kinetic friction, right? And since we know that mu k is less than mu s, it is given in the question, the value of friction force suddenly decreases, because at the limiting value the friction force will be equal to mu s into mg, and just after the relative motion will begin, the value of this force will become mu k into mg, right? So actually just after the relative motion will begin, the value the value of friction force that is acting towards the right decreases significantly, and this block will have some negative acceleration. That means the net acceleration will be towards the left, right? So the speed of this block will keep on decreasing until it becomes zero at some point of time. And when the velocity of this block will become zero, at that particular instant, this block will change its direction of motion and it will turn around, right? So here is the diagram that I have made for the motion of this block. This initial position or the origin position, I have taken it as the initial position of the block, right? Just at the moment when the support was stopped, right? So after elongation of x1, this is the elongation, x1 is the elongation at which the limiting friction is just balancing the spring force, and after this value actually the kinetic friction will appear, right? So after that it will continue to move towards the right, and at this value, at the maximum elongation x max, the velocity will become zero and this block will turn around. It will change its direction of motion and it will start to move in the leftward direction, right? In the leftward direction motion of this block, the relative velocity of this block is always going to be towards the right, right? So the friction force during the negative x direction motion of this block will always be towards the right. And what will happen that at some elongation, let's say that elongation is x minimum, at this particular elongation, this block will again come to rest, right? And it will again change the direction of motion, and this motion we will talk about it in detail. So there are still some thing missing out that we'll talk about later. So we are actually interested in determining the value of x max. So first, calculate the value of x1. For this, we will just equate the value of this spring force equal to the limiting friction force, that is mu s mg, right? And after this value of x1, let's say the elongation at any given instant is x, and this x is greater than x1. So for this during this interval of motion, we have written this equation: net force will be equal to, towards the right there will be kinetic friction, and the spring force will be acting towards the left. So net force equal to mass into acceleration, and we can just compare this equation with the standard equation of SHM, right? So at least we know for sure that during this motion, during this range of motion, the value of x when it is greater than x1 and less than x max, at least during this motion it is following perfectly the simple harmonic motion, right? For this simple harmonic motion, the value of omega can be written as root of k by m, right? Now what? First of all, we have to determine the value of maximum and minimum deformation. We haven't still described the complete motion, but that part will do that in the due course of explaining the whole question. So let us jump back to this part here, that maximum, what will be the maximum and minimum deformation of the spring, right? So at the maximum deformation and also with the minimum deformation, at both of these positions, since the direction of velocity is going to change, the magnitude of the velocity is going to be zero, right? So that part we know. So let's say the value of x, or the elongation in the spring, is x, at which point the velocity of the block is zero, right? So we have just taken this x maximum and x minimum both as xm position, right? So it will have two values that we know from this discussion also, but we have taken it just one value, and we know from the intuition that the solution of this xm is going to be going to give us two values, so it will be a quadratic equation, right? So the greater value will be for x maximum and lesser value will be for the x minimum, right? So now for this part here, that since if we take two positions here, one position just at the position when the slipping start to occur at this position, and one position here whether it is at x maximum or x minimum, you can take any position. We have taken the rightward direction, so let me call this the x maximum position, right? It does not matter. So during that interval, if we just apply the work energy theorem, right, because the friction force is also acting, so we are constrained to apply only the work energy theorem. So work done by all the forces is going to equal to change in total kinetic energy of the system, right? So work done by the friction force is always acting towards the right. So this is the net force that is acting towards the right. This part mu k mg is the friction force. Work done by this will be equal to force into displacement, that is xm minus xi. This part here is the displacement towards the right, right? And work done by spring force can be written as minus k by 2 x final square minus x initial square equal to final kinetic energy minus initial kinetic energy. This term, if we just try to write in form of the quadratic equation in terms of value of xm, this is going to be this value, and if we just solve it using the value of x1 that we have derived from this equation, kx1 equal to mu s into mg. I have tried to solve it in the least possible step possible for me. So this is where you have to think about how this equation is being derived, right? So that is not very difficult part to do. Just you can see here there is a quadratic equation in terms of xm, and if you just solve it, you will get the value of xm as this plus minus of this quantity, right? So of course the value of plus will be for the maximum elongation, and value of minus will be taken here for the minimum elongation, right? So we have determined the value of x maximum and x minimum in the same equation here. We'll just have to use plus and minus. So that part is solved now. So what is left here? What is left here is the determination of t part, time period of the oscillation of the motion, right? And during this part we will also discuss about the quantitative nature of or mechanism of the motion of this block after this after the support is stopped, right? So in this part, let's now again discuss what is happening here. So this particular position is x minimum, right? Here is my initial position of the block or the origin that we have taken, and this is x minimum, this is x maximum. And let's just begin from the start, right? From the start, what was happening here, that initially from this position the block will continue to move with the same velocity u from the start position, right? Not from here, but actually from here. From here, for the first time when the support was stopped. And one more thing, students, do not try to read this or read into this diagram. This will only make sense after you listen to what I'm going to tell you from here, because this cycle is not going to happen for the first time, right? So for the first time, let us just discuss what is going to happen for the first time, right? So as soon as this support A is stopped, this block will begin to move from here, not from here, right? So it will begin to move from here when the compression or the elongation in the spring is actually 0. It will continue to move with the uniform velocity u, because during that part of the motion the spring force is always balanced by the static friction force, right? At the value of elongation x1 at this position here, just the limiting force is actually being able to balance the spring force. And as soon as this block crosses this point, the spring force will overcome the limiting force, and the limiting force will not act, and the kinetic friction will begin to act, and that will be less than the limiting friction. So we will have a definite acceleration of this block just after this position, just after the just at the right hand side of this value x1 we will have a definite acceleration, and just at the left hand side of this x1 position we'll have zero acceleration, right? So during this part we had already proved that during this part the motion will be purely simple harmonic motion, and as the block returns and changes its direction of motion from the x maximum position, during this part of the motion the simple harmonic motion will always happen, because you see here in this equation, while the block was returning back, its direction of motion was towards the left, the friction force will always be kinetic and always be towards the right. So this equation here will be valid for throughout the leftward motion, right? So this block will continue to perform simple harmonic motion during this part of the motion, right? And at this particular value of x, its velocity will become 0, right? And after that part here, its velocity will begin to increase gradually. So when it turns back, its motion will not be same as for the first time, right? For the first time, its motion was uniform motion during all that time. But once it changes its direction at the x minimum value, its velocity is 0. So of course its relative velocity is towards the left with respect to the conveyor belt. So the friction force is again acting towards the right with the same value, that is mu k into mg, or the kinetic friction, right? So during that part of motion, during that part, it is also, moving with the moving in a simple harmonic fashion, right? That will continue to happen until this block reaches to position where its velocity has become same as the velocity of the conveyor belt, right? As soon as it reaches this value, and this is the position we have said to be x2. So x2 is the position when the velocity of this block has become just equal to conveyor belt, and at that particular velocity there is not going to be any relative motion, right? So as soon as no relative motion is achieved, the friction force will be just static in nature, and we know that between for the value of x, for the value of elongation in the spring that is less than x, the value the static friction can always balance the spring force, right? So after this part here, this block will continue to move with the same velocity u, and again at this value of x1, the limiting force is just equal to the static friction, and after just this point, again the SHM motion will happen, and this part of the motion will continue to happen, right? So here if I just erase all of that part, I have made this diagram here. In the red line part, you can say the red line part is shown here to represent the simple harmonic part of the motion. So red line part is the SHM part of the motion, right? If the motion was completely simple harmonic motion, then the problem would have been very simple to determine the value of time period, right? It would have been just 2 pi root of m by k, right? But in this part, what is happening in this one complete cycle, all of the part that is shown in the red is completely satisfying the conditions of simple harmonic motion, but this blue part here between the extensions of the spring x2 and x1, here is the part where the motion of the block is uniform motion, right? Here velocity is u, here also velocity is u, and in between velocity is u always, right? So this is one complete cycle of this particle, right? So of course it is going to be a periodic motion, and for that periodic motion, if I have to determine the total time period, what I can do is that I can just write the total time period minus the time taken of a particle that is performing simple harmonic motion, complete simple harmonic motion, to travel distance from here to here. That part I will subtract, and I will add the time of the uniform motion from this point to this point, right? So the total time period considering the simple harmonic motion, that is very easy, 2 pi root of m by k. The time taken to travel distance from here to here, if this block was performing simple harmonic motion, that part we have to actually subtract. For that part, let me do the calculation here. I've also determined the value of a here. What is going to be the amplitude of the motion? That is very easy from this diagram to say that since this motion is going to be simple harmonic motion, at least towards the left hand side, the x minimum and x maximum positions are going to be the extreme position, right? And the distance between two extreme positions is equal to amplitude, right? So amplitude will be equal to x max minus x min by 2. So of course we have determined the value of a also, right? And if I want to determine the value of time taken from this point to this point, again I can use one logical point here, that since the velocity here and velocity here is going to be same, the midpoint of these 2 points x1 and x2 is going to be the mean position of the motion, right? So this midpoint here is the mean position, and let's say from the mean position to this particular position x1, the time taken is small t, right? So at t equal to 0, we have considered the particle to be at the mean position, right? And at t equal to small t, the particle has reached the position x1. And again, I'm not talking about the actual motion of the block, but what if the block was performing simple harmonic motion? Again, this distance can be said to be a minus this term. How can we say that? Because this midpoint to this extreme position distance is going to be equal to a, and this distance is nothing but the difference of the coordinates x max minus x1, right? So I'll just subtract this value from the amplitude and I'll get this value here. And again, to determine the time taken, we can use the phasor diagram here, that this line is the line, actual line, in which I'm considering the simple harmonic motion. And at t equal to 0, let's say this is the direction of the circular motion that is happening on this circle, and at t equal to 0, the particle was here on the circle and it has traveled angle that is equal to angular velocity omega into t during the time t, and at time t it has reached this particular position. So again, the projection length, this length here, is going to be equal to this much, right? And the amplitude is going to be equal to radius, right? So in this right angle triangle, I can write sine of omega t will be equal to this height, that is this value here, and divided by a. So I will just use the values of omega, a, x max, x1, whatever we have already, determined, and we'll just use the value of all these terms, and t will come out to be root of m by k into whatever this lengthy term. And if you just see the Pathfinder answer, you will not get the answer in sine inverse term. But again, whatever is given in the tan inverse term can be converted into this exact sine inverse term, right? So I don't know how the question was solved so that the tan inverse term is coming. I probably missed that particular way of solution. You can tell me how to get that directly, but I got this in terms of sine inverse or cos inverse, whatever it is, right? So we have determined the value of small t, and now the question has become very simple. So the total time again will be equal to 2 pi root m by k, that is equal to the total time period in terms of the simple harmonic motion. What if this motion was complete simple harmonic motion? That part minus this small t part here, right? So minus this part t, and I'll have to multiply it by 2. Why? Because we have calculated the time taken from this position, from this mean position to this position, but we had to calculate it from this position to this position, right? So this is going to be just double the time. So minus 2t plus the time taken by the uniform motion, right? And during this uniform motion, the displacement is x1 minus x2, or this value multiplied by 2, right? So this value multiplied by 2 divided by uniform velocity u, right? So divided by uniform velocity. Okay, I have done a mistake here. So this should not be k, rather it should have been u. Actually, k and u both will be there. So I guess this should be the answer, right? So you'll have to just write it down in the appropriate form, and you'll be able to check with the answer given in the book. I hope you like the solution and you'll be able to understand it throughoutly. Thank you.